Hello and welcome to the Hypnosis Academy. How are you all doing? I hope very well. Today I'm going to talk about provocative therapy and what is it and what's the purpose of it. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So in my studies, basically over the years, I was so passionate about therapy, and still am, that I wanted to learn as much as I could. And so I learned lots of different therapies. What I've discovered is that now I've incorporated the bits that I like, the bits that I feel really work. I've incorporated them into my work. So I wouldn't class myself as an NLP practitioner, or I wouldn't class myself as a hypnotherapist, or I'm just a therapist, and I just use as many tools as I have, at the time that I think it's appropriate. So I came across provocative therapy through the guy who taught me NLP, and he had a couple of people who would come and they would demonstrate what provocative therapy was, and I looked at it and I liked it a lot. But it wasn't at the time I thought, ooh, that's not really my style. I'm not very provocative. I didn't like being provocative. But let me explain what provocative therapy is. So what happens is this. You go to a therapist, okay? You go to a counselor and you say, oh, my life's shit. My life's terrible. I've got this problem, this problem, this problem. And the counselor says, so how do you feel about that? Yeah. And so if I'm understanding you rightly, you've got this problem, yeah. So what do you think might have brought that about? Well, yeah. So kind of what they're doing is this. Traditional therapy keeps you within your paradigm, okay? So you're saying, I've got this problem, and the person goes, yes, I understand that, yeah? So they're with you, they're in your vibe, yeah? Provocative therapy does exactly the opposite. What it does is it breaks the vibe. It breaks the pattern. You see, when you say, oh, I know. It's terrible, isn't it? All you're doing is just continuing this cycle. Yeah? They've got this little pattern that they're running. Now, what happens with problems is that problems, just like good things, you can have really positive patterns. People who are very successful have really positive patterns that they run, positive programs, positive ways of thinking, and they just run them. They've developed them and they run them. But people who have terrible lives, who have loads of problems, they have the same patterns. They're just awful patterns. They're just awful ones, awful programs that they run. And they just keep running them. Yeah. So if you enter into their world and you just let them talk about their problems, nothing's going to change. They're still just going to be running these problems. They're going to be very, very, very competent at talking about the problems, but they're still just going to be running them. So, personally, my belief is that all therapy, all good therapy, is provocative therapy. Because the word provocative, is to provoke. We need to provoke the person into changing. Right? So, what happens is your job as a therapist is to ruin the pattern, to ruin the program. That is your job. You've got to mess it up for them. You've got to ruin it so much that when they try to get the old problem back, they can't find it because you've ruined it, right? So if you just imagine it's like a little pattern that runs. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, right? So they run that, and then you come in and you go, hey, you see that A? Hey, what if I put the A there? What about that B? What if I put the B there? Hey, and what about the C, D, E? What if I just mixed them around and it was D, C, E? Now look at the problem, and the person goes, A, B. It's changed. Right? That's literally the most simplistic metaphor about what you've done with therapy. How do you do that? You've got to provoke the person. So we've got different levels of provocation. Okay? For example, I won't let people, I might do every now and again, just to keep the flow. But typically, I won't allow the client to justify their problem. I won't allow them to give me a justification. Everybody will justify the problem. Even if they want to change it, they'll justify it. Okay? You don't allow them. You don't allow them to justify what they're doing. Because when they're justified, then they're keeping it, they're perpetuating it. Okay? So you've got to have a good pair, as they say here in Spain, a good pair to be a therapist. You can't just let people tell you the same old crap. So quite often I would have to say to people, I'm going to have to stop you there, because what you're saying is a load of rubbish. Okay? That's provocative therapy. Right? That's not what a therapist does. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but I wonder if you could look at it this way. No. Provocative therapy is, and quite often I do this, you do know what you've just said is a load of crap, don't you? Right. Now, what does that do to the person? They're going, well, yeah, I do it, but I'm doing it because it makes me feel better and I feel that I'm helping people. Okay? And then you say, you know what? You do know what you've just said is a load of crap, don't you? Okay. It stops they're going like this, la, 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 A, B, C, D, E, and you go, and you knock a letter out, and it stops them. Okay? Some brilliant examples of provocative therapy that I have heard were where a woman she'd been to see a therapist, and they did provocative therapy every now and again, and she'd been making love to her boyfriend, and he died with a heart attack during the act of making love. So she went to see the therapist, okay? And he was trying to be compassionate. He was thinking, oh man, this is massive, I'm going to have to be nice. And he said, I got a sense that at the end she hadn't come for nice. She wanted to be shocked out of this. So he said to her, well, what's clear is this. You've obviously fucked him to death. Okay, now imagine that in a therapy situation. Okay, it's kind of like throwing on its head everything that you would expect from a therapist, going, yes, how do you feel about that? Yeah. Provocative therapy is very often linked with humor. So for example, if I'm doing EFT with somebody, okay, so I'm EFTing them, I get them, it's a beautiful moment, because you're getting them to repeat everything that you say. I just want you just to repeat what I say. And if I say something that doesn't resonate with you, I want you to repeat it anyway, understanding that your unconscious mind will put it right. That's the get out clause. Yeah? And then I'll start. And what I've done is I've made a note of everything they say. And I start amplifying it. And quite often I'll get them to say something. I might get them to swear, right? To use a swear word. And they have to repeat it because I've asked them to repeat it. Or I might get them to say something wild about the problem. Something that's... And what I'm doing is I'm trying to use my intuition to get really what they're feeling. Because remember, when people tell you how they feel, they're not really expressing what they really feel. Yeah. So I help them to express what they're really feeling. And quite often, as I say something like... I don't know, I'll give you just a stupid example. So somebody's complaining about their partner, okay, and they're going, oh, he's this and that and the other, and I'm just doing this, and I say, and I'm so tired of him, he's getting on my fucking tits, okay? Right, I use swear words, all right? I use swear words a lot in therapy. They're not bad, all right? I don't swear like that in normal life, but in therapy I do. Why? Because I'm provoking. Because when you use swear words, you get somebody's attention, and also it shifts them out of one vibe into another vibe. So quite often when I do that, the person, as they're EFTing, who are really upset about something, they start to laugh, right? Provocative therapy and humor are linked inextricably. You want people to laugh, right? Why? Because you're realigning the energy centers, and then they laugh, and you're giving that new energy center a laughter to it. And quite often, when they think back, they'll laugh again, because you've kind of anchored that in. Okay? I'll give you another example, something that I use, and I use this often, because in all the years that I've done therapy, I've worked with lots of people who have tried to commit suicide. And the word tried, right? So let me tell you what I think about suicide, just generally. I've worked with people who don't want to commit suicide, who tried, and I've worked with people who did want to commit suicide and who have failed. Okay? Very big distinction. When you work with somebody as a therapist, when you work with somebody who truly does not want to be on this earth, you can tell instantly. I know instantly. It's like talking to a dead person. There is nothing. They will give you nothing. They're not interested in anything you say. You can't be reframing stuff, and they are dead. And they just say, you say, do you think you would do that again? Yes. Next time I'll do it properly. Okay? So they're very, very disappointed that it failed. It wasn't supposed to fail. Okay? Then you get and that's that 1%, 2%. The rest of the people are the ones who try and fail. Okay? They're the ones that, they're still alive. They're talking to you, they interact with you, they get very embarrassed about what they did, they're very disappointed in themselves, they can't believe that they even thought about the possibility of committing suicide. And understand, all of us at some point in our life have thought about committing suicide. All right? Would it be better if I wasn't here? Everybody's had that thought at some point. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay? That doesn't mean anything. So what I do is this. I will make light of it. Okay? So if they've tried, I'll say, what did you do? What did you do? How did you try it? And they'll tell me, and I go, oh, you did that. That's useless. That's an awful way of doing it. And I'll tell them why it's an awful way of doing it. If you did it and it would have been really bad. I mean, the worst that could happen is you could just damage your body for the rest of your life, and you go through life like a cripple. Yeah? Is that what you want? Okay? So I downplay, I make a mockery of what they did. Okay? On purpose. I'm provoking them. I'm not going to say, did you really? Oh my God, you must have been in a bad place. I don't want them to be in a bad place. Right, so when I start making a mockery of it and like criticizing what they do, they start looking like, this is a bit bizarre, isn't it? And then I say, look, for as long as I'm working with you, I want you to promise me, and this is not my system, by the way, I've heard this from very good therapists. I say, I want you to promise me that you will not do anything like that while you're working with me. You won't try and commit suicide. Do you promise me that? And always they say, yeah, I promise. Okay? Because I'm going to help you. Okay? We're going to get to a better place. And I'm confident that I'm going to help them. I'm not saying that as a lie. I'm going to help them. But they've got to promise me that I'm not going to do it. And then I say this. After we've worked together, if you don't feel any better, if you still think that you're better off dead, I will tell you a good way of doing it. I'll show you how to do it properly. All right? I'll tell you how to do it properly. Well, that's when either they start laughing. The last time I did it, the person started laughing. You go, what? What are you saying to me? What kind of therapist are you? Okay? And we laugh together. Now suddenly we've gone from them going, and I tried to commit suicide, to laughing about what they did. That's what provocative therapy is. It's getting them to see the other side of it. Like, what? And then the last time I did it, the person said, at the end, they said, thank you very much. I never expected that kind of reaction, but I really appreciate the way that you've handled that. Okay? That's because they're in a better place. Right? And the next time that I saw her, she was in a fantastic place. All of that was forgotten about, making plans and everything. We just need to jolt people out of where they are. Right? So don't think that by being nice to people and by going, oh, I know, oh yes, isn't that terrible? Don't think that you're helping them. You're not. You're just going in the same loop as them. Remember, they've got an alphabet. You take the letters out and mix them round. Who would have thought that you, as a therapist, would offer them a way of committing suicide if they really wanted it? I mean, that's ridiculous. They'll probably tell other people, do you know what my therapist said? But it'll be fun. And people will laugh. They'll go, oh, not everybody. Some people will be going, well, that's disgusting. I think we should report him. Okay? But the question is, does the person feel better or not? And typically they do. So I use provocative therapy. I'm not a provocative therapist. I just use it when I see it's the right time. when I know that somebody needs to be jolted out of this malaise that they're in, this lie that they're telling themselves. Okay? So I might do that with many different ways. If you're interested in provocative therapy, I recommend that you look into it. There are some great provocative therapists. Understand the system that they use. It's a very simple system, which is making light of something without mocking it. It's not. Some of them mock, actually. Some of them mock as well. I saw one guy who was going, "My mum died, and she left me alone, and it was terrible." And the guy said, so you're a bit of a mummy's boy then, are you? Okay. The guy went, "What do you mean? How dare you? How dare you?" And he was really angry. Just the way you're talking, you sound like a bit of a mummy's boy, like, you know, my mum, you know, is that what you are? Anyway, the interaction went on. The guy was really upset. And then the guy said, "Look, understand, because when you do provocative therapy, you say, we're in a little bubble and everything that happens here is just between you and I. Don't think it's real." All right? And the guy said, "Let me just stop you. Tell me how you're feeling now about the situation with your mum." And the guy went, oh, that feeling's gone now. All right? That's all you're doing, is you're shocking them out of this little loop that they're in. Yeah? So definitely worth looking at and incorporating what you like out of it into your therapy work. Okay, that's all I've got to say on that matter. I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.